you got some questions for us there, Steve? Oh, that's all right, I'll grab them. Hand them out. Is this all of them, yeah? Oh, there you go, that's one for you. There you go. Oh, that was you.
Is this the one you were laughing at?
No, it's
and
that
handing
one
it
there.
to me.
Can I have your phone number? Thank you. Who's it for? Put that one in there.
Okay.
Oh, hang on, there's some more. Oh, sorry. Oh, there's loads. Oh, God. Haven't you got homes to go to? That one might. Oh, is that more you? I'll tell you what. I'll take that one. That one. Oh, there you go. Right, go on then, Matt. I'll let you start.
Okay, I think these might all be fairly similar. But this one says, first one says, can I still use plastic cable ties when using cable tray or ladder? Okay, the wiring regs say that it precludes the use of plastic cable ties, cleats, clamps, fixings, or, in fact, cable support systems if they are plastic and used as the sole means of support. So, if you're using these plastic cable ties on a plastic cable tray, then no, you can't. If you're using plastic cable ties on a metallic, then, look, plastic cable ties are cheaper than metal ones, aren't they? So we know that, but you would be able to use plastic cable ties on a metal containment system because it's not, the plastic isn't the sole means of support. So hopefully that answers that one. Oh, crikey, yeah, I mean, we see, yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, yeah. But we see cable tray put the other way up quite often, don't we? And what we really want to do is let's kind of put it the right way up. It kind of makes sense. I know why people do it the other way up, but let's put it the right way up.
For the guy or girl who wanted me phone number, ring that one.
So we've got a question, how did we test AFDDs? So it depends on the manufacturer. In the case of Eaton, it's an auto test on the product itself. For the manufacturer, so Siemens, who's, I know you've got some information in your packs, there's a test button on there, but it is more of a functional test rather than having to buy any special test equipment to be able to test them. So it's either an auto test or a functional test on the front of the product.
Got one here about similar. Do I need to buy a new test meter? No? No. The only thing you might want to consider is, you know, those different types of RCDs we looked at. If your RCD tester is 20 years old, it may not work with those new different types of RCDs, but technically, according to 7671, there's no reason to buy a new tester. Just check that yours works with those new RCDs if you're doing it. Go, you can have a go if you want.
Okay, so this one says when cables and conduit are supported by metal clips to meet the new regs, which is fine. How do plastic roll plugs, and we've had this before, haven't we? This is a bit of a grey area, which are usually used to fix into concrete or brick ceilings, fare in the event of a fire?
That's a long question.
It is a long question. Yeah, and on the back it says, "Can I have your phone number?" as
hello.
well? So pretty good, eh?
From Kevin.
From Kevin, yeah. So. Yeah, we can use metal clips and clamps to hold up plastic materials, because if the plastic goes in the event of a fire, the cables are still supported by metal fixings. It's a bit of a grey area when it goes into red roll plugs. For me, I would say that if you had an installation around this building, for example, in metal work, but it's all going into red roll plugs, you could argue, I think, that the red roll plugs are providing the sole means of support. And you could then say, well, let's change some of those red roll plugs for different types of fixings. But the red roll plugs wasn't covered, was it, in the...
It doesn't prohibit it, but
no.
Like you said, if you use metallic fixings everywhere, then you're guaranteed.
Yeah,
but it doesn't prohibit it.
No, and red roll plugs are cheaper than metal fixings. But intersperse would be the thing that I would say from our point of view.
Where's that? Who? Has he? Has he run away? What? Have you got a question? Do you want to borrow a mic?
Yeah, so it is a big debate in the industry at the moment, and BRE did do some testing with regards to red wall plugs, and it was inconclusive. And we still use them within industry, but there's nothing to say that they would fail, or nothing to say that they shouldn't be used. So I think until we get any further guidance from test stations such as BRE, we can continue using them. But I quite like Matt's pragmatic approach to disperse them with other fixings, but as I said, it doesn't preclude you using plastic wall plugs. Obviously, they're lightweight wall plugs, so if you've got something heavy on them, you wouldn't use them. You use rods and etc., but yeah, it certainly doesn't preclude you using them.
That BRE testing was all a little bit strange. It was all about a single weight underneath a fixing on its own, and we tend not to have just a singular weight. It tends to be spread about. Is there any guidance on risk assessing where you're omitting an RCD for a socket? Yeah, loads. Our website, there's a little guide to what to do, how to follow the little chart. Go on there, eca.co.uk. It's a free download. Have a look. You can get your information on there.
So got one more question on AFDDs. So how do AFDDs detect series arcs on a ring circuit? So again, Beamer Guy's good point to go back to. So if it's a series fault, it's not deemed to be a risk. I think you could potentially get the arc fault device picking it up, but it's not deemed to be a risk. It's more on a ring main. The arc fault device will be looking for a parallel fault, but again, go back to the Beamer Guide is a good source of information.
Yeah. Question about fireproof cable supports, observation codes, so I'm guessing on a periodic when you're having a look if there's a lack of them. A periodic is, it's a horrible phrase, we're saying it again, a risk assessment. We were having this conversation the other day where you have a look above a 600 by 600 ceiling, and if there's a spider's web of cabling, it's more risky than if it's just a singular cable. That was probably an example of a C2 to a C3 change, because there's going to be one massive, massive risk if everything up there is unsupported. I did see a job where the guy showed me, I think it was a clothing store, everything was rested on the 600 by 600 ceiling. 25mm armoured, rested on the 600 by 600 ceiling. Not a single clip, cleat, tie, anywhere. That is a damn sight more dangerous than a single piece of Cat 5. I think common sense would probably say C2 for the first, C3 for the second. And one more, is it? Oh, two more?
No, it was just...
Oh, we've got loads.
No, this question, just to say we are trying to address the question, but this one's been talked about already, just to say, if somebody was to come up and say you didn't answer my question.
Oh, well,
this one was talked about within the plastic plugs conversation, but can I just say that Beamer is our trade association for manufacturers, so your trade association is...
Us?
ECA. Our trade association is Beamer, B-E-A-M-A, beamer.org.uk, I think. So you can go onto that website and there's complimentary information about some of the things we've talked about today, and loads of other really good stuff besides.
How much are the Beamer guides, Matt?
I believe they're free.
Free? Oh, that's all right then. And is that one more left for you, or are you job done? Oh, that's all right. Another one? Oh, you can't ask two. Is it from the same company? You have to ring back. Cables, oh, cables behind a fire barrier. Plasterboard. Cables behind a fire barrier, plasterboard. The idea is to protect against premature collapse, and if it's come to a point where the house is falling down, it's not premature. It's not, again, as Matt says, it's not a bad idea to start putting metal clips in, but on a rewire, it's not feasible. It's not physically possible. I was chatting to a guy who was saying about if the fire service are feeding water into that building and the ceilings are falling down, there's nobody going in there. That is not premature collapse because there's nobody in there. Maybe not a fire barrier, but it'll provide a stop against premature collapse to a certain extent. Oh, yeah, and you were clipping. Yeah, as long as it's supported adequately. And there's a bit of a, I hate the phrase grey area, but there is a bit of an ambiguity here. And if you can fit metal fixings, obviously it's all the better. But bearing in mind the idea is to stop people getting tangled coming in and out. And if the ceilings are collapsing and the floors are collapsing, there's no way any fire officer is going to be in there. They're not going to risk their lives to save a building. Yeah, Yeah, so once the building has actually fallen away, there's no one going to go in and risk their lives. Somebody did make an interesting point at one of the events a couple of weeks ago about it depends what the building is. I was chatting to a guy who was saying he was working in a very, very expensive part of London where those buildings are starting off at 50, 60 million for something relatively small. You could argue that in that case, somebody is going to want their property saving as opposed to a 3-bedroom semi in Middlesbrough, where they probably aren't going to risk anything. At that point, you've got to think, well, is there going to be pressure on the fire service to go in and risk themselves? So in that type of building, in a historic building or something where there's great significance, it's probably better to put metal fixings because the risk has gone up. But it is a bit ambiguity, and I think a risk assessment to decide whether it's needed or not. But a little bit of metal, a little bit of plastic, you can't go too far wrong with that. Yeah, if, the 17th used to say all cables in escape routes adequately supported. Now they've took out the escape route bit. So whether or not it's an armoured cable above a ceiling in an escape route, knee height outside, technically they all need adequate support. So you could use cleats, but they'd have to be metal cleats. Yeah, and then again you're all right. I used to work for the water board many years ago, and we used to run miles of cable outside at knee height. Where's the risk? If there's a fire in 3 acres of a water treatment work, if that cable falls, there's no risk. Common sense would say, I don't really need to do that. But an armoured running down a corridor like this, all-round banders. No, but there are, I mean, Legrand make all sorts of fixings and, well, do you guys do the fixings or the supports for the stuff?
We do the support systems that complement the cable management systems, and again, system is a really important word to be able to. You need to take products that are designed and tested together as a system from a single manufacturer, because then you're making sure warranties are still in place and all that type of thing.
But all-round band's really good for this sort of stuff. It's about as cheap and handy as you can get. Yeah. Complies, it's easy to get hold of, and it's easy and quick to fix. Good value for money. Not cheap, don't say it's cheap. We're good value for money. Is that everything from everyone? Yeah? We'll be hanging around afterwards if you want to chat. If you haven't got your book, if you haven't got your ticket, please stay around and have a word. Otherwise, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.